Hey everyone, thank you for joining me. I'm a guy called Joe. This is Bootstrapping Tools Let's Build, where we help scrappy bootstrappers just like yourself figure out how to supercharge their workflows by adding automation and using low-code tools. And before we dive into today's topic, make sure to check out our YouTube channel. We got lots of videos up there that go through all sorts of low-code and no-code solutions, including Retool, Airtable, Google Apps Scripts, as well as many others. If you don't see what you're looking for, feel free to shoot an email over to feedback@bootstrapping.tools, and we'll be happy to take a look at that application, possibly make a video just for you. Now, in today's topic, we're going to be talking about how we can send an email for a new Google Form submission. So essentially, this is where you create a Google form, they submit a response, and then you want to trigger an email to get sent somewhere. That you could do it through their built-in UI, but that only sends you notifications of new responses. Maybe you want to do something else with this, such as, I don't know, sending an auto reply over to the person who submitted a response and offer them, I don't know, like a promo code or something like that for participating in the survey. Essentially, we're just going to show you how to do it. We're going to be using Google Apps Scripts as a trigger, and we're going to use the form submit trigger for that. But enough talk, let's go ahead and just dive into it. All right, so up on the screen over here, we have a spreadsheet that we hooked up to a Google form more recently. So that's form responses up one over here, and you know that it's attached to a Google form by that little purple icon over here next to the tab name. But so with this, what we're going to do today is when people submit to the form, we're just going to send an email out, and we're going to send it over to the person who actually sent the email. So this is a fake email, but this is just a test from before. Let's clear that out. We don't need that. And let's go back over to our form. And if you don't have the link to your form, a really easy way to get to it is just by going up to your menu bar over here, clicking on form, and click on the edit form option over here. That's going to bring you right over to the form that is linked up to your Google Sheet. And over here, we have response one, which is that thing that we just saw. So we can actually delete that. Let's go over to the individual one. Let's go ahead and just delete that response, clean this out so that we have a clean slate here that we're working with. And then one thing before we dive in, I want to just show you within the responses, there is this option in the little three dot menu. If you click on that and say get email notifications for new responses, when you click on that, it's only going to go over to your email address. So the user that is signed in, that's the email that's going to get the notification for new responses. However, if you're working on a team and you just want to send that notification to everybody on the team, you're not going to be able to use this option. You're going to have to use the script that we're going to use right now. But either way, the one that we're going to do today is going to be sending it over to the responder, so the person who submitted the form response. So going back over to our Google form, our Google spreadsheet over here, what we're going to do is we're going to click on Tools, then we're going to open up a script editor. So that's the option over here. Let me zoom in and show everybody. Tools and then Script Editor. Once you click on that, that's going to bring you over to our lovely Google Apps Script. And then from here, it's going to write out some code, and we're going to use one of the installable triggers called the form submit. So let's go ahead and just rename this project first. We're going to just call it demo form submission emailer. We can rename this later when we expand the functionality, but for now, let's just call it the form submission emailer. So instead of my function, let's actually make this a little bigger for everybody to be able to see. Okay, what's that? So this one, we're gonna call this let's just call this a send email, and then we're gonna put an E as a parameter for the trigger. So when that comes in, there's gonna be certain data that comes along with the actual data, and so those are called event objects. And you can open up over here, take you over to the documentation by Google, and so we have the form submit event object, and that's an installable. An installable just means you have to manually actually install or set up a trigger, which we'll show you how to do in just a little bit over here. But essentially, you got a bunch of things in here. One of them is range, values as well. You can get all that information from here. But essentially, what we will do is we're going to set it equal to the values so that we can pull the email address out from it. And that's going to depend on where the question is. We can also try to pull it out of the name values, if we can see it. But tell you what, let's just go ahead and hook it all up and then see what's coming out of the name values versus the values, and we'll determine which one is the better one to use. So going back over to our code over here, let's go ahead and just say var values equals e.values. And then we can also do the name values over here as well. So we can just call this name values. And I'm using snake case, but you can use camel case if you want. You know, a lot of people do prefer camel case, but I just force a habit for myself. Okay, so now we have that. We're going to do a console.log, and we're going to say name values. So let's just go ahead. There are two ways that you can actually write out this. You can do it like this, so that it's nice and verbose. Name values equals that. And then if you wanted to, there's another way, which is using the tick symbols. So you don't have to do those commas or anything like that. Basically, the tick is the option where the enya is next to the one, to the left of the one. So it looks just like that. And then put in values. And then what we're going to do is $sign with the curly brackets values. And that should just present those out. So we'll save this, and then we're going to go ahead and just test out a form submission over here. So we got the questions, what's your name and what's your email. It's basically all we need. So let's just click on the preview button up top so that you can get taken over to the Google form. And then we're just going to put in Joe test, and the email we're going to be using is demo@bootstrapping.tools. We submit that. You can open this page to submit another response later. We're going to need that. But over here on the left, there's an option for executions, and that's going to show us the data that's coming through when we have executions. But of course, we didn't hook it up yet. So go into the triggers. We got to add a trigger over here. And just to show you what that looks like, let me move my little bubble. It's this option down here, add trigger. That's going to open up a little modal. Send email from spreadsheet, and then we're going to say on form submit. So let's save that. Gonna take a little bit of time to save. Gonna take a few moments, and we have to just authorize the script. So once that pop-up comes up, and so once the pop-up appears, the page will refresh, and then you've essentially authenticated, and now you have the event trigger in place. So going back over to the executions, and then going back over to our form, let's just go ahead and resubmit that. So we're going to say Joe2, and then it's going to be demo@bootstrapping.tools. Submit, and going over to our executions one more time. Now you can see we got the function send email was sent, and then trigger is the type. When we click on that, it's going to show us what the name values are, and then also just what the core values are. So it seems like here, if we know what the name of it is, that's going to be our object name. We can just pull out the information from it. But this is a little tricky. I mean, both ways. You can either know exactly what position it's coming in on, which in this case, since we have 3 values, that's going to be position 2 because the array started position 0. And then the other one is just giving it to us and essentially a variable that is called the same thing as the question. So we can use either, doesn't really matter. We can try this one actually. Let's go ahead and copy that. Go over to our code over here. And then instead of saying name values, let me just put this down here. Whoops. Let's copy this down. Going back to our executions, let's copy the name of our question over here. Okay, so that's the what's your email. I'm going to say values. Of course, there is a single quote in there, so you're going to want to use double quotes for this. And then we're just gonna replace this with say what's your email. Let's go ahead and test this. Let's run it. We don't need this console log, so we can just go ahead and comment that out. And we're gonna do another form submit here. So we're gonna call this Joe3 demo@bootstrapping.tools. Submit. Let's go back to our executions. And we'll see there's a brand new one. Took 23 seconds to port. There's no logs just yet. Here we go. So now we can see that what's your email. We're able to pull that email straight out of there, which is perfect. That's what we want. That's the email that we want to send. So from here, what we'll do now is we're gonna take that code, and then we're just going to add in the email sender. So before we do that, let's go ahead and take this guy, and then we're going to equate recipient equal to that value. We don't want these values anymore, so we can remove that too. Same thing goes for this. And we don't need this console log anymore. All right, so the way that you send emails through Google Apps Scripts is by using something called their Mail app. There are two Mail apps actually. There's one which is just Mail app, and then there's another one called Gmail app. So if you want to send it through Gmail, you can do that. If you want to send it through Mail app, you can do that as well. If you're using an ESP like SendGrid or Mailchimp or something like that, you're going to need an API key, and you have to make a post request over to their APIs. For this video, we're just going to talk about the Gmail app, because we're using Gmail in this case, and we're going to use that to actually send out the emails. However, if there is any interest in showing you guys how to send it through SendGrid or Mailchimp or any one of those services, just drop a comment in the section below, let me know, or you can send an email to feedback@bootstrapping.tools. We'll make a video just for you regarding that ESP. But so, like I was saying, we got the Gmail app over here, and this is a library that Google Apps Scripts provides to us. This is a really easy one to send email. That's one of the functions that they give us. So we're going to have the recipient, right? Then we're going to have the subject, and then we're going to have the body of it. So the recipient, we already said, we got that from the actual response itself. So we can put that in there. And then the subject, we can say new response, submit it. And then in the body, we can just say, I don't know, body of the response. I'm sure you'll have something that you want to say, but for now we're just going to say this. But we're going to save this now. So this is going to send. I actually have our Bootstrapping Tools demo email just open up. This is a Google group. If you don't have a Google group or you've never seen it before, really nifty. If you're using G Suite, you can set up basically distribution that's using Google groups. But let's go ahead and test our code. So we're going to say Joe4 as this test. I'm going to say demo at bootstrapping.tools. All right, so we're going to submit that. And I think that it should send unless we have to re-authenticate some more things here. Essentially, wait for the refresh. We're here, so it failed. That's okay. We had to redo the permissions here, so let's go here. We just need to send it. So we have to review permissions and all that. And then once you're done with the permissions, you're just going to go through, and now that the script is done, I'm going to go ahead and resubmit a test here. So we're going to say Joe5 is the test, and demo at bootstrapping.tools as the email address that we're going to use. So that gets submit. Let me go back over to our code, go to the executions. So we're going to see that the editor failed. That's just because we were doing the authentication, so that's fine. Don't worry about that. We're waiting for the new trigger to occur. We might need to refresh. Okay, so once we refreshed, we see that we have the send email, we got the trigger, and that was completed. So I just want to see what the logs are going to be like. All right, do we actually have logs? No, we didn't have any console logs. So we get the email, refresh, and new response submitted, body of the response. So this is sent by me to me through the Gmail app, and it was sent over to our Bootstrapping Tools demo email, which is demo at bootstrapping.tools. But that's essentially it. So we can say, something like, thanks for the response as the subject. And if we wanted to curate the body a little bit, we can just say body equals, so we can say recipient name over here, right? So we can say, thanks for participating in our survey, comma, then we add the recipient name over here. And we can do another, to add the period. Your feedback is appreciated. free. Sure. All right, so save this, and actually got to replace this with body now. And if we submit another one, we'll just call this final test. And we're going to say demo at bootstrapping.tools. And we hit submit. And you go over to our email group. Refresh button. Not run yet. Something that takes a little bit of time to run. You really just need to wait for it to go. That did submit though. Hit the refresh button one more time. Here we go. All right. So that's 419 completed, no errors. Everything looks good. Going back over to our Gmail group over here. Thanks for the response, right? Thanks for participating in our survey. Demo at bootstrapping.tools. Your feedback is appreciated. So if you have the name, you can use the name instead. If you wanted to use the name, you just have to get a different named value from it. So the way that we did it was we got that question over here. If you wanted the other one, looking at our questions, you know, it's basically what's your name. It's the same thing really. So if we wanted to switch that over, let's actually copy this. Copy this up. And then let's say name. And instead of what's your email, it's what's your name, because it's really the same spelling. And then we can say within the body, instead of saying the recipient, we're going to just say, hey, thanks for participating in our survey. Responder name. Your feedback is appreciated. So we can just do this one more time. Final test, because, you know, there's always another final test, right? Bootstrapping.tools is the email address. So, I think I misspelled that. Let's try that one more time. Final last. Demo at bootstrapping.tools. Okay, let's go over to our submissions. We have 21. Looking good. Refresh this. And here we go. Now we have another one that says, thanks for the response. Thank you for participating in our survey. Final last, your feedback is appreciated. So that's essentially how we're going to do it. Just a quick recap here. You're going to be using the script editor, and within that script editor, you're going to create a function that has an E parameter. You're going to create a trigger for that, which is based on a form submission. So on form submit, you're going to trigger that that function to run. And then within that function, what you're going to do is you're going to take that E value. You can name this whatever you want. I just used E because it's short. So you're going to get the name values from that. And then in order to pull the information from the response, you just use the question names essentially in there. And then you can do everything you need. And to send the email, it's going to be Gmail app.send email. You can use the mail app as well if you want, really doesn't matter. Or you can just send a post request to your ESP provider, assuming that they have an API you can send emails using or via. But that's essentially it. If you did run into any issues, feel free to drop a comment in the section below. We're always here to help, and we'll try to respond to you as quickly as we can. So don't be shy. Go ahead and just post a comment in there. But if you did like the video, make sure to hit that like button. It's the best way to support this channel and help us continue to make content for all of you scrappy bootstrappers out there looking to supercharge their workflows. We also have a bunch of videos coming out. We have a couple of more on this particular topic on using a Google form with Google Sheets and through doing automation, just like this one where we did email automation. Next one might just show you how to route emails differently depending on where that email needs to go and the response that you received. Maybe they picked a certain option in a drop down and you might want to route the emails accordingly. So that's really good for maybe like a help desk or something like that, specific topic, whether that's corporate IT stuff or if it's financial stuff or whatever it might be. That should be a really good topic to cover. We'll also cover a bunch of other ones. So make sure to hit that subscribe button and also the bell so that you get notified when we release those videos. But I'm a guy called Joe. This is Bootstrapping Tools. Let's build. It's been a pleasure, and we're out.